credit, and credit is purchasing something that you do not pay for immediately. This is different than, say, a layaway plan. When you put something on layaway, you don't receive it. You make payments on it, but the store holds on to it, so that's not credit.
Right.
Credit is when you buy something and you get to take it with you, but you didn't actually pay for it yet.
Oh, the joy.
Okay, a debtor is someone that uses credit, and the word debtor has kind of a negative connotation to it, like, oh, you're a debtor. It sounds bad, right?
Right.
It just means that you have debt. It has developed a negative connotation because people have used it in a negative way to say, like, to make it sound like it's people that are not paying their debts. But that's not actually the case. A debtor is just anybody that has a debt.
Okay, right.
So if you've taken out any kind of loan, if you have financed anything at all, if you have a credit card, if you get a student loan when you go to college, you are a debtor. And it's not a negative thing.
Right.
The only time it becomes negative is then if you become behind on things or you don't pay.
Right.
But just to have debt is not necessarily, I mean, that's not a negative thing. It's almost impossible in today's society to live completely debt-free. Creditors are the organizations or the people that extend the debt. So if you take out, like, let's say you, even with a person, you borrow some money from a family member and you guys like write up a loan agreement, like you're going to pay back that money over so long. You're the debtor and they're the creditor. So anybody that loans money or extends credit is a creditor. Okay, and that sometimes also has kind of a negative connotation where people will say, oh, creditors are people that are coming after you for money. That's not necessarily the case. Yeah, but the creditor is the person you owe the money to. Okay, assets are anything that you own that has value. So technically an asset is everything you own, but certain things you own do not maintain any value. Nobody is going to give you anything for your old beat up flip-flops. Do you own them? Yes. Do they have value? No. So an asset is the things that you own that have value. So if you own a home, if you own your car can be an asset or not. If you owe more than it's worth, so like when you first are financing a car, you owe more than it's worth the minute you walk off the lot or drive off the lot, it's not an asset. As soon as it switches to where the car is worth more than you owe, or if you've paid for it outright, then it's an asset. Same thing with the home. A home is not an asset unless it's worth more than you owe on it. It has to have value. Any money in any kind of a bank account, checking account, savings account, stock market, CDs, those are all assets. Cash in your pocket is an asset. Jewelry that's real, that has value, gold, diamonds, things like that. Even to a certain extent, furniture and appliances, if they have value. You know, the futon from Walmart, not really an asset, but if you have like an antique bedroom set, that's an asset. Or even if it doesn't even have to be antique, but if it's real wood, and you know, these things are assets. Earning power is your ability to earn money now and in the future. And earning power is based on job history as well as level of education. So someone with a high school diploma that has never had a job, calculating their earning power, they don't have much. Because if you've got no job history and you've only got a high school diploma, you know, they're not looking at you're going to be getting a CEO of some corporation job. You're going to be getting a, you know, retail or fast food or restaurant job. So your earning power is very low. And then as you move up with your job history and skills, and then as you move up with education, you know, certifications or college degree, those raise your earning power. And then also it depends on what field you go into. You can have 25 degrees, but if you decided to be an elementary school teacher, Your earning power is not that high. Whereas you could have just some certifications, but if you go into a field that pays well, just for example, a field that you don't need a college degree for but that does pay well is plumbing. Plumbing. Welding pays a lot. Yes, plumbers make a lot of money. Welding. So they don't require a high level of education, but the pay scale is good. So earning power is based on several different factors. There's not one single factor like, oh, you have an advanced degree, so your earning power is way up here. It doesn't work quite that way. It's job history, level of education, as well as field that you're in, because some fields pay more than others.
If you have work history, you build skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you don't have a high school diploma. What is
Your earning power is lower.
Lower, right?
Yeah.
So the high school diploma
does affect your learning power or your earning power. On average, if you have a high school diploma versus not having a high school diploma, it's a difference of about $7,000 per year.
Right.
Going from a diploma to an AA or an AS degree or like a technical certification adds another $10,000 per year on average. Going to a bachelor's degree raises you another $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the field, and then each degree above that continues to raise your average annual salary.
Right.
But that jump between no diploma and a diploma being around $7,000 a year is pretty significant. And then going from diploma to any kind of a degree is another about 10.
Right.
So it makes a big difference in your earning power.
Right.
And that's based on national averages. So that's not to say that people without a high school diploma don't earn. There are people out there that didn't finish high school that earn a lot of money.
Right.
And there are people out there that finished graduate degrees that don't earn hardly anything. But it depends on your field as well.
Right.
Your earning power affects your credit rating and your ability to obtain credit. Because if you are on paper only ever going to have a minimum wage job, let's just say, nobody's going to give you a loan for a $400,000 house.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. So these things do affect your ability to obtain credit. And then your credit rating is your credit report card, and this is based on your creditors reporting how well you've met your financial obligations. Before you have credit, you don't really have a credit rating because you have no history, so they don't have anything to report on. And then other things affect your credit report too, and we're going to go over all that. So any questions on reporting agencies? They compile the records on all users of credit. Now, in theory, all of your records should be the same at any agency. In actuality, this is not the case. And that is because creditors reporting to the agencies have to pay fees and things, and so they don't necessarily always report to all three agencies. There are three major ones. There's Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Okay, Equifax is probably the most widely used. So this one is most likely the most accurate.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not to say that they are 100% accurate to every single thing that's on your credit history, because as I said, your creditors report you. So there are times when things do not get reported or do not get reported correctly. So none of them is necessarily 100% accurate, and that's why they say you should check your credit reports every year from all three companies so you can verify the information that's on there. Because, again, yes, these are companies, but companies are run by people, and people make mistakes. Happens. Okay, The credit reporting agency compiles the records and uses those records to create your FICO score. And FICO is named after Fair Isaac and Company, which is the company that originally developed the scoring scale. So FI for Fair Isaac, and company, CO for company. So FICO. The range is between 300 and 850. 300 is the lowest you can ever possibly get. 850 is the highest you can ever possibly get. And it summarizes your probability that the debtor will repay their debt. Low score is a low probability. So low score is bad credit. So the higher the score, the better the credit. Okay. Installment plans are a type of credit that are offered by stores. Okay, so this is not a credit card, although sometimes they'll give you a card, but it's not actually a credit card, it's an installment card. And with the installment plan, you pay for services or goods over a period of time, but you do get them the day that you purchase them. You just have to make payments on them. You would have to pay a down payment, which is a portion of the purchase price, which will either be a set amount of money, so maybe they have like a set $100 down payment for everything, or it'll be a percentage of the total of whatever it is you're buying. Yeah, and sometimes it is based on credit. Your percentages can be based on credit too, as far as your down payment and your interest. Actually, interest is pretty much almost universally based off of your credit. There are some stores that have set interest rates, and those, for example, like your Rent-A-Centers and Aaron's, Rent-To-Owns and things like that, those actually have set interest rates, but they're based on all bad credit. They're very high. Interest is the fee charged, so you can earn interest in a bank account, but you pay interest everywhere else. Interest is the fee charged on the installment purchases, and it gets added to the total cost, and this is at a percentage rate. And so the amount of interest is based on two things: the length of time and the percentage. Okay, so you can have a high percentage rate, but over a short period of time, that's not a whole lot of money. You can have a low percentage rate, but over a long period of time, it will be a lot of money. So it's a combination of the two: percentage rate and length of the period of time that you pay things off. Okay, and then here's the big thing. Credit is a legal contract. Okay, you are obligated to pay. Okay, if you do not pay your debt, there are consequences, and those consequences are not limited to your credit score. You can be taken to court, and then there can be legal ramifications for not paying your debts. Now, in the olden days of yore, back when, there used to be debtor prison, where if you did not pay your debt, you went to prison. They do not have debtor prison anymore because they realized that people that were in prison for debt could not go to work and therefore could never actually pay the debt.
I wonder how long it took them to figure out that.
Couple hundred years. However, there are other legal actions that can be taken: wage garnishments, seizure of property, and things like that. So credit is a legally binding contract, so you need to be aware of that. Heather wants to buy an electric guitar, and the price of a guitar with tax is $2,240 because it's like a really nice guitar. If she can save $90 a month, how long will it take her to save up for the guitar? So we'll take our $2,240 and we will will divide it by our $90 a month that she can save. And that will end up being 24.9, but we don't have parts of months here. We're going to say she'll take 25 months to pay for it, or to save up for it, which is just over 2 years. But when she realizes it's going to take her 2 years to save up for this guitar and she wants it right now, she talks to the salesperson at the store who suggests that she can buy it on an installment plan. She'll pay a $15 or 15% down payment, and then she'll pay the remainder plus a finance charge on a monthly basis for 2 years at $88.75 a month. So we want to figure out how much is that going to cost her.
Wait, so what do you do with 88 times 15%?
No. The guitar is $2,240. So her down payment is going to be that $2,240 times our 15%. And that's going to be $336 down that she's going to have to pay. Yeah. So $336 down. And then she's going to pay $88.75 for 24 months. 2 years, right? So $88.75 times 24 months. And so she's going to pay $2,034 in payments. So all total, she's going to pay the $2,034 in payments plus the down payment. So she's actually going to be paying $2,466 for this guitar. The guitar was $2,240. So if you take out the $2,240, she's going to be paying $226 in interest, or, you know, as a finance charge, however you want to say it, they're the same thing. And this is where the decision has to be made. Do you want the guitar badly enough to pay an extra $226 for it? Maybe. Maybe not. That's a personal decision, right? I mean, nobody can make that decision for you. So Carpet King is trying to increase sales, so it instituted a new promotion, and a lot of retail stores will do this, especially like furniture stores and flooring stores, where you can buy stuff on an installment plan with no interest, as long as you pay the whole thing off in 6 months.
Oh, okay.
But what they'll do is they'll make it a really small minimum payment. If you pay the minimum payment, you will not pay it off in 6 months.
So what does that mean?
You'll accrue all the interest.
You'll end up having to do them.
Yeah. So here's what happens. Okay, there's a minimum $20 monthly payment required. They buy $2,134 for carpeting.
Okay.
Now you have to. God, I have typos all over this one. Sorry. If you have to pay it off in full within 6 months, or you're charged interest.
Right.
So if they make $20 minimum payments for 5 months, they'll have paid exactly $100 of their $2,000 worth of carpet.
A month.
No, that's how much they're paying $20 a month for 5 months.
So it's $20 a month for 5 months.
So they'll have paid $100, which means that if they don't want to pay interest, they will have to pay $2,034 in the 6th month to avoid interest.
Right. Well, how many months, or how much do you have to pay a month to have that amount?
Okay, or if you were to split it, you would do the $21.34 divided by 6.
Right.
So.
It seems like the more logical.
Yes, but people don't do that all the time.
Right. If they want to avoid that interest rate, I'm sure they better. That's not terrible.
No, but see what happens, here's what happens with these installment plans, like these promotions. They offer you no interest financing for 6 months or even 12 months.
Yeah, is that really?
And then they set the payments, the monthly minimum payments, very low
Right.
because they are anticipating human
A
nature.
silly person.
Well, it's human nature.
Right.
If you only have to pay 20 and you know you should pay 350,
Right.
you pay your minimum 20
Right.
because you think, well, I only have to pay 20 and I could
Right.
use this other $330 for other things.
Right.
That's human nature. And so they're counting on you not paying it off in 6 months because then they charge you all that back interest
Right.
and then all the new interest. So it's a sales ploy to get you in the door.
Right.
And
Right.
they are, and here's the thing, if you do pay it off in 6 months,
Right.
they didn't lose anything by it because they still sold the furniture set or whatever, right? So they still get the money for the sale. And then if you don't pay it off in 6
Then they
months,
get the interest.
then they get all the interest.
And some silly person, even if you
So it's a
are
win-win for the store because they increase sales and possibly increase revenue by charging all this interest. And for those people that do pay it off in the 6 months, well, that's okay. They still got the sale.
Right.
But it's an advertising ploy. They are banking on the fact though that you won't pay it off in 6 months. They change as new data is presented. Okay, here's the way credit scores work. They do change frequently, but they don't change much. Usually just a couple points here and there, up and down, unless you don't pay a whole bunch of stuff and then they tank really fast.
Why do they say it's bad to check your credit score too often? Because it takes it.
Okay, so if you have 700 or more, you're in the good zone. If you have over 770, you're excellent. If you're in the 600 or below, you're poor, bad. Between 600 and 700, you're iffy. You're not good, but you're not necessarily terribly risky. You're iffy. Between 600 and 700 are the people that may or may not get credit depending on the company. If you're over 700, you're probably going to have no problem getting credit from anybody. If you're below 600, forget it. It's not happening from anybody. Except, well, that's not true. Yeah, it's very expensive. You can get a car loan if you're below there, but you have to go to one of those buy here, pay here places, and you're paying like 25% interest. Huge down payments, high interest rates, bad terms, very bad terms. So no good deals down here. Okay. And here's how things can affect you. Like Mike has a credit rating of 720 and Tyler has 560, and they apply for the same loan from the same bank. Mike will get 5.2% interest and Tyler will be charged 3 percentage points higher. So Tyler would be charged 8.3%, and that's not probably very accurate. It would probably be much more than that. It would probably be more like 12 or 14%. If you take out a $3,000 loan, we're going to assume simple interest on this, which is not actually how it works, but we're just going to say simple interest. If I do a $3,000 loan at 5.2% interest for 3 years versus a $3,000 loan at 8.3% interest for 3 years, we want to compare how much those cost. If I multiply this out, this is $468 paid in interest. If I multiply this out, that's $738 paid in interest.
So what did you put for the interest amount?
8.3%.
8.3?
Mm-hmm.
What is the 8.3?
2. Oh, you're right. Thank you. I had to change.
Have it change it.
No, I wrote it down right on the paper. I just didn't write it down right on the board. Okay. Do that. So it's point, 3 percentage points. It doesn't seem like a whole lot, 3 percentage points, but it's a difference of almost $300 on for thousands. At that point, that's like $100 extra a year that he's paying in interest. So these small amounts of differences will make a big difference. If you were, say, probably if you don't have great credit now, your interest rate on a loan from a bank is probably going to be around 12%. If you did that calculation, you'd be paying $1,080 in interest on a $3,000 loan over 3 years. That's little more than a third of the loan you're paying on top of the loan in interest. And that's simple interest. It's not what gets charged. Compound interest is what gets charged.